back on this beautiful channel, and thanks for checking in so far. Okay, talk time. Hi, I'm Flond, the creator of Tonal Truths. I'll keep this short and quick. This voice note is meant to do two things. One, to humanize our movement, and two, make it clear that we take this very seriously. You may know me from behind the keyboard, breaking down the mistruths of our world. You can't always hear the tone or intention behind my words, but I want people to know that there's a real person behind the screen, a real person who has a real issue with the dynamics of our world and who is dedicated to shining a light on these injustices. I have a blog and I had a subreddit before it was banned, but we'll get to that later. Before I dive into anything else, I need to lay out the philosophy behind tonal truths, the boundaries we uphold, and the social contract, or lack thereof, that is currently at play. So, what is tonal truths? Tonal Truths is a political movement dedicated to correcting the social contract and treatment towards darker Black women in our society. This goes way beyond corrective promotional work of our image. This is about addressing the systemic and purposeful suppression of darker Black women and their unfiltered voices. With this mission comes inevitable backlash. We've been called bitter, crazy, mean, desperate, divisive, mentally ill, hateful, exclusionary towards lighter people, etc. The works. But the reality is, we are none of those things. We are a group of darker people who respect ourselves and who are doing the best we can to maintain proper boundaries in a society that centers whiteness. We work within the confines of the society to push for change. Right now, the unspoken social contract between darker Black women and white society goes like this. Darker Black women are not allowed to have boundaries. We are not allowed to occupy space in a way that is authentic and untokenized, unstereotypical. And we are not allowed to politically advocate for ourselves unless said actions are deemed palpable and respectable to whiteness, which they never are. This is how our society preserves the illusion of peace and harmony, by stomping on Black people whenever there is an attempt to have an independent voice. That is not real unity, solidarity, or progress. That is the illusion of those things. Our foundational phrase is, although money might be able to buy influence, the greatest power comes from the truth. Money is used to push political agendas, manipulate research, and to shape narratives. Money wins in the short term, but the truth will always surface no matter how much effort is spent on concealing it. Tonal Truths is about centering the truth, especially the unspoken truths surrounding color and features and how those things impact someone's place in the world. We are tired of drowning in polite white lies. We are tired of navigating the world through a white defined framework that never asked for or included our experiences in the making. We refuse to accept the illusion of diversity and inclusion as a replacement for real change, and we want to make it clear that these truths have to be acknowledged as our framework going forward. If we want a real, cooperative, mutually respectful, constructive, harmonious relationship across all lines, we need this to happen. Okay, so what are our truths? Our main slogan is erasure is not inclusivity, erasing dark-skinned people from their own spaces, erasing skin color differences, erasing the impact of those skin color differences. That's not inclusivity, that's erasure. Flattening everyone's experiences into a single amalgamation that no one can understand, that's very confusing to everyone, is not true inclusivity. It's erasure. It's a form of erasure. Two, recognizing and respecting darker women's importance under their own Black label is absolutely necessary. Blackness originated with darker people. Our space, our identity is not a commodity for others to redefine, whitewash, or claim at their convenience. Three, certain layer people do in fact have implicit biases, and they must actively work to correct them. We don't hold it against them whatsoever, but we want accountability. We're here to offer guidance in that process if you need it, but it has to be acknowledged and it has to be seen for the problem it is. Number four, not all Black people act in their best interests, right? In every creed and color of group, there is always going to be someone who is against the interests of themselves and the collective of people who look like them. We call them respectability sellouts. White society rewards them for being tokens, and we do not take them seriously. Think of like Candace Owens. We don't take it seriously, and we know that those people are there to serve a specific purpose. 5, okay? And this is very important. Only darker women can define what it means to be a Black woman. Not white people, not lighter people, not Black men. None of you guys can tell us what our identity is. And that needs to be said, okay? There have been so many people who come up to me and who tell me, hey, you can't say that this person is a Black person. Why can't I? Right? Why can't I say that this person who I don't see as Black isn't Black? As an unambiguous, darker Black woman. Okay, number 6. Black women do not come in all shades, right? Certain lighter, mixed, ambiguous women, they are not Black. We know that you use this phrase to give undue influence and prioritization to whiteness in our spaces. We don't want Amanda Steinberg, Zendayas, the Fandy Newtons being the face of our representation. And in return, Black people who truly respect themselves don't want to take over other people's representation either. We don't want to be the Black Ariels of the world. We don't want that. Number 7, Blackness is not a racial, ethnic, DNA, or colorblind construct, right? Blackness is a feature-based concept. It has to do with features on human beings because there's only one race of human, right? But there are people with different features, and that's where the concept of Blackness comes from. The concept of race itself, too, is a feature-based thing, right? You see these features associated with a certain type of people and you call it a race. That's what this is from. So in this sense, we acknowledge that Black oppression is not a racial issue. It is about anti-Blackness against Black features, colorism, featureism, and a type of ethnic erasure, the erasure of Black culture and people who look like that. Number 8, society, we understand that it deprioritizes Black women, even in spaces that should center us.
Welcome to the show. Today, we're going to have a candid conversation about colorism. That's defined as prejudice or discrimination, especially within a racial or ethnic group. Usually, lighter skin is favored over darker skin, but folks with lighter skin suffer backlash as well. My 2 guests are here to share their stories about how colorism has impacted their lives. We welcome to the show Jade and Sandra. Sandra, I want to talk about your beautiful
Thank you.
brown skin as well. I think it's so interesting. You say there's still some people who will walk up to you and ask, what are you? That's got to be maddening because you've heard that since you were a child, right?
Yes, I've heard that since I was a kid, and I still hear it today. And people are like, what are you? And I'm really sarcastic because I'm like, I bleed like you bleed. Mm-hmm. I'm human. What does it matter?
Which is why we're even having this conversation. We promote solutions to this, like working within the system, radical self-preservation. And if we have to, we're going to scale this up to 4B movement stuff, right? We will not be having them kids. We will not be cooperating because this has to stop. 9, the one drop rule and the one Black father rule are forms of deliberate violence towards darker Black women. Co-opting Black women's experiences and intrinsic value, trying to erase and replace them, it is erasure and it is an act of systemic and ontological violence against them. 10, we respect all nationalities, ethnicities, and backgrounds. We don't tolerate anti-Blackness or ethnic discrimination. 11, we respect all religions and spiritualities. I'm agnostic personally, so hey, whatever your religion is, I'm okay with it, right? We do not tolerate homophobia, transphobia, anti-LGBTQ or ableism, some of the basic stuff, basic common decency. But the main goal of this movement is that truth is not up for debate. We can't live on illusions. We can't live on a web of lies. Unlike in mainstream Black discussions, etc., we as a movement are grounded on pre-established truths that center Black women's experiences as the default, as they should. We refuse to have to fight to prove that Blackness is about darker people, that certain non-Black people are not Black. that colorism is very important and even more important than racism. Racism shouldn't even be used to describe this problem, right? Listen to how darker people are describing this problem.
My experience has been a little subtle, but actually it's been more of microaggressions rather than macro.
What does that look like?
So what that looks like for me is knowing that I wasn't the first one chosen, but no one actually said why, and combining my skin tone with my height, being taller than most people, it always felt like I had to find my value in things other than what I looked like. So trying to show up based on my intellect or being a good friend or being loyal, but no one ever spoke about my beauty or how I looked. And I was very aware of that because I would hear it being said about other people, but never about me.
Not how other people are. We see this problem as a colorism problem, as an anti-Blackness problem, as an ethnicism problem. Racism is not helping us solve this problem. For too long, we have been pressured to limit, lie about, or deny our experiences for white comfort. And that in and of itself is a violation of our boundaries. It is a breakdown of the social contract. Ignoring the suppression of Black voices is wrong. The silence and the oppression of Black voices is wrong and is not real peace. It will never be real peace until you fix it. So please, understand that tonal truths exist to normalize our experience in our existence as darker Black women, to dismantle the illusions that have kept us silenced and oppressed. The real path to unity and progress starts with the truth and saying the truth for what it is. This movement is serious. We will not be erased. And we ask that you give us mutual respect for our reality, respect for our existence, and respect for our boundaries the way that we do for you.